I'd like to call the Watertown Police Commission June 10th meeting to order, which is being conducted through virtual GoToMeeting. And we will convene the meeting at 7:02. And I will now ask for a roll call. Please state your name as we do the roll call. Richard Antonetti, present.
David Genetti.
Jamie Hobart Lambo.
Tammy Keeman.
Joshua Berniger, Acting Chief of Police.
Very good. We do have a quorum. We only need 3 members for a quorum. I am placing both Jamie and Tammy as regular members. They are alternates, so they will act as regular members for the June 10th meeting. I will at this time, before we get into the actual agenda, I am going to ask the Deputy Chief and Acting Chief to read what I think is a significant letter that sort of expresses, I believe, the view not only of the police department, but also the view of all the commissioners and all our citizens in the town of Watertown. It is an excellent letter, and I think it addresses issues that our city and our state and our nation are facing. Josh, would you please read that letter?
Certainly. Definitely difficult times right now in the United States, and certainly for law enforcement. The letter I penned on June 5th. I write this letter in response to the tragic and unnecessary death of Mr. George Floyd last week in Minneapolis, and to the ensuing protests occurring across our country as a result. Please be assured that every member of the Watertown Police Department condemns the heinous actions of the Minneapolis police officer who knelt on Mr. Floyd's neck, and further condemns the lack of intervention by the other officers on the scene. The police actions shown in this incident fall outside of any training provided in the state of Connecticut, and well outside the core values and moral principles of the men and women of the Watertown Police Department. On behalf of the good men and women of the Watertown Police Department, we extend our condolences to the family of Mr. Floyd. Protests have proliferated across the state and country, which have generally been peaceful in nature. A peaceful protest has been planned for Monday, June 8th at 1 p.m. on the Watertown Town Green. The organizer of this event has met with the Watertown Police Department command staff and is working cooperatively to ensure this demonstration is successful and remains peaceful. This protest intends on promoting a positive message of equal justice for all persons and denouncing of police brutality. The Watertown Police Department subscribes to these principles and acknowledges citizens' constitutional right for lawful assembly. It will be the mission of the Watertown Police Department to provide security during this event, to aid in the event's success and ensure the safety of all persons and property. It should be noted that there may be temporary closures of DeForest Street, Route 6, during the time of assembly. While we collectively grieve the death of Mr. George Floyd and attempt to recognize the failures that led to it, please know the Watertown Police Department is not afraid of self-reflection and is dedicated to constant improvement. We look forward to open and honest conversations in the days to come, and will work hard to achieve positive change. Thank you, Watertown and Oakville, for your support and continued partnership. Stay well. With sincerity, my signature.
Thank you. I will now move forward. We did a roll call, and I believe this will be in our minutes so that not only for the record, but for all of our residents of our town are well aware of the position of our department. We will not be able to approve the March 11, 2020 regular meeting. We do not have enough for a vote. I believe only myself and one other member were present at that meeting. So therefore, there will be no need for approval at this time. We'll move it forward to our next meeting. As far as correspondence, I believe there was a letter sent to me back on May 23rd, 2020. And it was from, I shared this letter with all the members of our commission. And I believe Ms. Ryan is on, would like to speak tonight. Ms. Ryan, are you here? Mike, can you unmute her? Maybe she's muted.
Yes, are we looking for it, Commissioner?
Mrs. Rachel Ryan.
Rachel Ryan? Catherine Kramer has her hand up. We got Alice Foster, Darwin D'Amico, Catherine Kramer, Kyle Seymour, Margaret Murphy, and Rachel Ryan as attendees.
Could you unmute Rachel Ryan? Is she an attendee?
Yep, I got Rachel. She's self-muted now, Don. Rachel can unmute.
Ms. Ryan, are you there? Ms. Ryan?
Yes, I am here. I think.
Very good. We're hearing you. The commissioners have a copy of.
Oh, wait, no.
Hello? Ms. Ryan? You were just speaking.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, would you like to address?
Yes. Yep, I'm here. Can you?
You're not coming in clearly. Are you using a phone? Ms. Ryan? We're having trouble hearing Ms. Ryan. Our commissioners, you did receive her letter and she was concerned with a problem with traffic and the potential danger that existed. I did receive a reply. I received a voicemail from her and an email, and she said she was pleased to know that there was some work in progress, and I did send her what is being done as far as the Public Works Director, and we did check for any traffic violations, and she said more than likely the accidents that did take place, they were minor, they were not probably reported. She said she did not believe it was needed to extend the sidewalk. She was very happy that there will be an ADA compliance in the building of the sidewalk that was expressed in the Public Works Director additional sidewalk that would be put in, because there is an individual in a wheelchair that travels that area. I did receive that response from her on not only a voicemail, but an email, which was May 28, 2020 at 10:50 a.m. So we're having difficulty, Ms. Ryan. I don't know if there's more that you would like to add, but something seems to be wrong with your microphone. Would you like to try one more time? I think we may have to move on with our agenda. Is there any other public that would like to speak? I believe there was a Mrs. Camara that's interested in speaking.
Hi, Catherine Camera. I actually have Rachel Ryan on the phone. She's out of state, so she wasn't able to connect. So I told her if she wanted to call me. She's on speaker. Rachel, you can hear me, right?
Yes,
Can you
Now-
hear her?
How we do? Yes, we do. Go ahead, Rachel.
okay. So I just wanted to explain about my concern about the danger of the crosswalk, the location of the crosswalk on Route 6 at the intersection of North Street and the Green. I have crossed over that crosswalk many times, and if you're crossing from North Street over to the Green, it's very hard for cars that are going west on Route 6 to see the pedestrians. 2 days in a row, I was crossing the street, and a car stopped to help me, and they were almost rear-ended both times. And one time, a car had to swerve onto the other side of the road to avoid a rear-end collision. And a few days before that, I actually did see a minor fender bender when two women crossed at the crosswalk, and a car stopped, the second car stopped, and the third car actually had a minor fender bender with the second car. So I just think moving the crosswalk to the, further west on the Green side would be a much safer way to cross the street. It would give the cars coming west on Route 6 more time to see the pedestrians.
Okay. You did get a reply that there is a work in progress, as you did state in your email to me, that you were happy to see that there is a work in progress. Moving forward, both Public Works and,
I think, Rachel, can you hear this?
I'm having a hard time hearing what Mr. Antonetti is saying through the phone.
Okay. So she's not hearing you that well.
she did receive a reply, and I did get a reply from her that she is very happy that there is a work in progress. She said that those accidents that she mentioned, because we did check, I believe that there were no accidents reported. She said there were of a minor nature in her letter, and that the problems as far as the sidewalk, I also recommended that maybe the school would be willing to pay, if they would extend it, what the Public Works is going to be doing, felt that there was no need to extend the sidewalk any further other than what was being done by the Public Works. So we have had extensive communication. In her communication, she seems to be happy with the work that is being done. And also, probably the state will be moving that crosswalk into the direction that she would like. And I would encourage her, if she has any other matters when she is back in state, to communicate those to myself or to the department, and we will be happy to take those up at our next meeting. And if she is in state, maybe we will be having face-to-face meetings, and we'll be happy to address those. But her concerns are being addressed, as I said, both by the department, by the state, and also are being addressed, and hopefully things will be resolved in due time. Thank you, Ryan, for your information, and we hope that we can solve these problems. Is there someone else that, Ms. Camara, did you want to speak tonight?
I did. Let me just disconnect. Rachel, you're all set?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
And please thank him for everything he just said.
All right. Rachel said thank you for everything that you just said, and she just disconnected. So
Thank
is this public participation? I was trying to reach you for her, so I don't know if I stepped out of seat.
That's okay. If you have something to say, just state your name and address. Proceed.
Okay, it's Catherine Camera, 31 Cottage Place in Oakville. I have a few things. So I'll start with the first one because at the last meeting, I was trying to address something and I sent an email to the town manager's office because I don't know everybody's on the commission's emails, and I sent photographs, but I don't see it on the agenda, so I don't know what happened with it, but I can just tell you what it is. So back when you were addressing Main Street, the parking on Main Street, and then they painted those that
Shark teeth?
yes, that's what you call it, shark teeth. I happen to notice that everywhere else in town, those go from the center of the road all the way to the sidewalk. But in one location on Main Street, they only go from the center of the road to the line, the white line. They don't go all the way to the sidewalk. And it happens to be in the area that got hit the hardest, which was Paparazzi, the Greenberg Building, Onyx Jewelers, on both sides there. So that would mean that somebody, if they pulled up to park, they're not necessarily going to see those because they're not going all the way across, and it's on both sides in that area. But everywhere else I've seen them in town, they go all the way across. So I do think that I don't know who painted them, but they need to extend it all the way because otherwise people will park where they where they're not supposed to park, and they might not realize it. So I just happened to notice that. There were photos sent to, but I don't think you need them. I'm sure you can drive by and see that. The second thing I wanted to address, actually from quite a while ago, but I haven't been to any meetings, is I had an incident back in November where I was walking my dogs, and I saw this guy. He looked at me, and then he raised a gun in my direction.
Well, say that again. Raise what?
A gun.
Okay.
And so, and then he ran behind the house, and it really was very disturbing to me. So I did call the police department. They said, no, that doesn't sound right. You know, I went in and I talked to an officer, and the bottom line was it was actually a pellet gun, but I'm not a gun person, and certainly at the distance that I was at, I had no idea. I mean, it looked like a shotgun to me. So I was looking around it, and you know, since we're not in person and I didn't send anything in, but I did find different towns have ordinances about the use of pellet guns, but Watertown doesn't have anything. And my biggest concern with this is, you know, I understand people can use them, but I don't think they should ever be able to be pointed in the direction of the street or even shot in the direction of the street, because you know, if one of those things, you know, somebody's got their top down, somebody's riding a motorcycle, you know, you get hit with it, you have the sudden shock, you know, it can cause an accident. I think of the bare minimum, we need some kind of an ordinance as to how you can use them or whereabouts you can use them in your yard. And certainly not, you know, my mace wasn't going to do anything, but had I been carrying a gun, I can tell you the reaction could have been, which it's just not going to be from me, but from somebody else. This man could have gotten shot. I mean, the way it happened, it was just, you know, what are you doing? Oh my God, you know. So I just really think that maybe we should look at putting some kind of ordinances for the use of pellet guns in town. I mean, I know they're allowed, but there's got to be some sort of you know, a restriction so that this kind of thing doesn't happen. Somebody could get hurt. The wrong person could get hurt. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And I don't know, you know, if that's a police commission, because it's an ordinance. I don't know if that's something that you discuss.
Was this reported to the police in November that there was an incident, a man with a gun?
Yes.
Aiming it at you? So this is on record?
It's all on record. It's all on, yeah, the incident's on record. So I wouldn't say he wasn't particularly aiming at me. It was in my direction. My dog, the story ended up coming out. I think my dog was going for the same squirrel that he was going for. So, you know, but it was close. So it appeared to be very much in my direction. So, you know, that's all settled. It's just, you know, in looking back at it and noticing we have no ordinances about the use of them, it could have been a worse situation. And, I'd hate to see a young kid, see something like that. I think it would really freaked me out, so to speak. So,
The best venue to go, and I will mention it to a counselor, but if you go to the council in public meeting, maybe mention that you would think a ordinance related to use of pellet guns in town might be something of matter that they would consider. I think you got a good point there that obviously they should never ever be pointed at any individual or even at vehicles. As you all know, even a snowball hitting a car can cause a driver to lose control, just the shock of it. So I think there should be some interest in an ordinance. I'm not familiar if there is any on record. I will check into it. And I will mention it to counselors if they're interested. And I think you're bringing it up that public participation. Josh, is there any ordinance that you know of at this time on our record concerning pellet guns?
No, not that I'm aware of, Commissioner.
Thank you. All right. Anything else, Ms. Kamara?
yeah, okay, so I will bring that up to the council. And lastly, I just wanted to say that I fully participated in Monday's protest from start to finish. And I think that Watertown just nailed it as far as making the protesters feel good. The town looked good. Chief Berniger was totally amazing because of, I think the biggest impression was allowing people to go through the streets the way that they did, and to end up at the police department and to listen to the people. It just seemed to me there was people there from out of town who've attended other ones, and they seemed to definitely feel that Watertown was the one where they were being listened to. And it's disappointing to me that there were people driving by that clearly, yeah, it was, they don't hold the same ideals as some of us do. But I think I just wanted to mention that I did mention that we have a police academy, and, it's set up in one way. And I don't know if there's anything that could be done at this particular time. The most interesting part of it was listening to real people's real stories in our community. And I think that, I don't know how it could be arranged, not just with Watertown, maybe collectively, a couple of the towns or something, to have some sort of open place where people could come to a microphone and tell what happens to them and what it feels like and what it's really about. It really changes your perspective. And to have a 14-year-old boy come to the microphone and say, all the time in school, people want to touch his hair, feel his hair, because, his hair is different, and how that affects him. Nobody's thinking about these little things. It was really touching, honestly, to connect to these people. And I think for police officers too, I don't know how many could actually hear it because some of them were working, but I know that a couple of them were hearing some of the stories, and then more heard some of the talk at the actual police station. And it changes things when people understand where another person's coming from. And I just was extremely impressed with the way that the day went. It was, I was gone for 4 hours. I was there from 1, I didn't get home till 5 o'clock. So it was very well done. So thank you very much for that. And, just considerations going forward. I don't think this is over. So I think that we'll be seeing some more activity, and it's appreciated if it's welcomed in the town. So thank you.
Glad you did participate and that you saw that it was run in an open manner, which is guaranteed by our Constitution, the right to protest. And I think the illustration by our department, excellent. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Thank you. Is there not anyone else that would like to speak? Is there anyone else? Please state your name. I think there was someone else that would like to speak from Woodruff Avenue. Do you have that, Mike, on someone else that would like to speak? I'm looking at the list here.
Yes, can you hear me?
What's your name?
My name is Alice Forrester,
Could you state your address, Alice?
182 Woodruff.
Thank you.
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay, yes, the reason that I wanted to participate in this meeting is in regard of, we just purchased that home on 182, and through the process of, while we were in the process of purchasing, they have just put up the no parking signs in that street. We bought a house with off-street parking, and by the time that we made the offer and started with the paperwork of closing, they put up for no parking signs. So we would like to address that.
What would you like to say about that?
We would like to see how can they accommodate to give some kind of space for, you know, at least two spaces in the front of the house to accommodate our cars, since the house does not have anywhere to park.
What we have on our agenda tonight, Alice, is the matter of removing the no parking sign.
Okay,
on
yes.
And we are going to consider that tonight. And let me assure you, I've been over there and members of the department have been over there and looked at the situation. You probably noticed that immediately we saw that there was a problem. We did cover these signs, and we are going to move forward on action, you know, to maybe consider removal. And this is up to the members of the commission. After discussion, there will be a motion. I don't see our agenda, but that will be new business.
Okay, because there is also, I have just met all the neighbors, and there was concern that there's an autistic child in the neighborhood, and they would rather have it as a one-way street, the two-way street, because it's a lot of traffic, I guess.
It is a cut-through street. You notice that, and I did get a very good letter from Mrs. Margaret Murphy at 186 Woodruff, and she also mentioned there are several children who are there of various.
A lot of children, young children.
And that there are people speeding. So I will encourage the department to monitor the area a little more closely, to be alert to the potential of speeders and violence of speed in that area. And maybe with greater enforcement, they will slow down. As far as considering a one-way street, that matter is something that also was brought up at a time and a place. Well, we haven't really pursued that because of the very fact that it is such a narrow street, and it is used extensively by both residents on that street. And we also realize that it's a very old part of our town, and that when the houses and buildings were up, there weren't as many cars. And today, one has more than one.
Yes.
When we have the problem of snow, we have an ordinance that you cannot park on the street. And that, I'm sure, causes problems where people have to either park on their lawns and whatnot. So it is a dilemma that unless we decide to remove some houses and get some parking, which again, we all enjoy your homes and wouldn't want that to happen.
Yeah, so that's the problem that we are encountering right now, because at least right now, for now, I know that you guys have covered or no parking. So we're glad about that, and hopefully they will remove it. However, in the future, for the no parking ban, we don't even have a driveway. We're the only house that don't have a driveway, and my mother is handicapped.
Yes, and we are aware of that too, because some of the sidewalks in the area are not ADA compliable, and those are going to be addressed by the Public Works. So thank you
Okay.
for coming tonight. We appreciate your information.
Okay. So is it gonna be another meeting? Do you guys hold meetings monthly or?
We hold meetings monthly. Uh, In July, we do not have a meeting. We take a break, so it's near the 4th of July and people
Okay.
are traveling and whatnot. But every second Wednesday of every other month, we do meet, and we're hoping to maybe get back to some more normal situations where
Yeah.
we can have face-to-face meetings. They are
Okay.
just posted on the town line there where you can see those.
Mm-hmm.
So we hope if you'd like to attend, we're always happy to see you.
Yes. Yes, definitely. So you think that they would be able to probably seek some kind of resolution for this 182 Woodruff Avenue home that I just purchased because it doesn't have any parking. So yeah, I know I just found out about the parking ban in the winter. That's something we were not aware.
Right. Well, we can't make parking, so it's a difficult situation. Unless somebody would cut a driveway and make a pad, pave an area for parking.
There is no area. I only have the front lawn, so which is not too big. I could try to fit 2 cars there. However, I don't know how the town will feel about that. I mean, I could just throw gravel or something, but I just had to kind of obtain a permission to park in front of, my property
Hmm.
for the winter. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know, is there a bigger parking area in the neighborhood where people have larger driveways?
I don't have one. I don't have any sides on my house that I could just fit a car to get in the back. I do have yard in the back, but I can't get to it.
Right.
I could walk to the side, but I cannot fit a car. There's no way that I could make a driveway. I wish I could.
I don't have a solution for you at the time, but
Hmm.
maybe get in touch with Public Works
Okay.
in anticipation of winter.
Uh-huh.
Maybe they can help you. Where could you park your car if you do not have parking? And they may be able to suggest somewheres where legally you could park your car uh, so
Well,
that you
I
will not.
have a disabled mother and young children,
Hmm,
so that'll be an issue.
yes. Do you know Roy Kavanaugh? He is the Director of Public Works.
Okay.
Call him,
Uh-huh.
ask how he would be able to facilitate you with this problem. See what kind of answer he gets
Okay.
and see what happens. Be free to get back to us. As I say, we will not meet in July, but
Okay. What is the name again of the person you said for me to contact?
his name is Roy Kavanaugh, Public Works Department.
Okay. Work. Uh-huh.
And you can call Town Hall and they'll connect you.
All right. Very good. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that'd like to speak during public participation?
Darren D'Amico, 191 Woodruff Avenue.
Yes, Mr. D'Amico.
I wanted to also speak on the issue of Woodruff Avenue. If we were to make this no parking, this cut through would just become a raceway because your sight line would be opened up from Route 6 all the way down to Scott Road. And it would just become a raceway instead of a cut through. It would just give people the opportunity to just speed. We have 2 citizens on this street with special needs, and we have about 10 small children, and we really don't need any other reason to pick up the speed on this street. So the fact that the street is so narrow, we already have an issue that if cars are parked on one side, it gets it gets a little tough in a couple spots. You have to pull over and let a car pass because there's just not the room there. But we need the parking. So if we were to go one way up from the intersection of Woodruff and Scott up to the green, Woodbury Road is already one way there already. It just kind of feeds the way. We can go right up to Route 6. We could park on the side so people can use their home. The woman that just spoke, they have no option of putting in a driveway. And for them to park somewhere else, it would be a hike for her to come to use her own house. So I think it would be a great idea to look into just making the one way that would feed right into Woodbury Road, that would bring you up to Route 6. It would really, and it would not, by taking the parking away, it's just going to give your open sight line and just cause people to go faster than they're already going.
We, as I mentioned earlier, I had a very lengthy letter from Margaret Murphy at 186 Woodruff. And she is concerned, as I say, with all the matters that you just mentioned and reinforced. And I don't know how long you've lived on Woodruff, but from what I've gathered, these homes were built way back when there was not the automobiles, and that's why there's no driveways, and there is maybe one small garage. I did drive up and down the street myself several times. The dilemma is the narrow road. People need parking in front of their homes if they don't have a driveway. And if they do have a driveway, they have room for one car. It is a dilemma which time has changed situations with people having more than one automobile, sometimes two, in some cases three. One of the people that did circulate the petition was forced to park their cars in the winter on their lawn. So they had a couple of Jeeps and two Jeeps and a third Jeep, and it did create a problem. We are going, as I say, consider removal of the no parking signs that are up there covered. And after that, we'll look into other remedies. One of the remedies that I said is stronger enforcement as far as speeding. We are now fully aware of the number of children in that area, very young children. And again, enforcement and might slow people down, but there's always no guarantee that we can be there 24 hours a day. But we will do our best to try to slow people in the area. We will look into the logistics as far as one-way street, where it would go, how it would go. Can't give you no guarantees, but we will consider that as a matter also.
Okay, well, I thank you for the consideration.
So it is not a dead issue. We will look at it a little closer, and as I say, work on enforcement.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Is there anyone else that would like to speak? We give a last call.
Mr. Commissioner, looks like Margaret Murphy is trying to talk.
Oh, Margaret, are you there? Margaret?
She's self-muted at this time.
Unmute your speaker, Margaret. Can you unmute your speaker? We can't hear you, so you have to unmute your speaker, move your, I don't know if you have a cell phone or what are you using? You have to unmute it.
Says, sorry, my phone is only sending love. Darwin did sum up my thoughts well. I do love Watertown. I wish my tech was much better.
Well, Margaret, we have your letter. I did read it. I know you're concerned for the children, and you did list all their ages going up the whole scale, and I'm sure you're well aware. We are now aware of the problem, and let me assure you, we are going to try to address some of the problem. We do not have a solution to all of the problems, but we will try our best to ease the problems on your street. Thank you for your letter, and I will share that letter with other members of the commission. Is there anyone else, Mike, on public participation?
Don't see any hands raised. So far, everybody's talked except for Lisa Catania.
So we can move ahead on our agenda.
I think we addressed everybody, Commissioner.
Okay, I'm going to move ahead under new business, commissioners. And if you look at your agenda under new business is a consideration of removal of the newly installed no parking signs on Woodruff Avenue. And what we did receive for some of the commissioners that were not present at the last meeting, we had a petition that was circulated, and I have the petition in front of me. It was circulated throughout the neighborhood, and overall I count there's about 17 individual petitions, signers of the petition, and they are all residents of the area, and you probably can see them there. And it is a matter to consider, and we did through the department cover the no parking signs. If you remember, there was new sidewalk put in, and we were not fully aware. Tonight, one of our commissioners is not present. Robert McCarthy, Commissioner McCarthy, was very familiar with this area. And he said he did remember back when this sidewalks were being put in, that this was a good thing to have the sidewalk. But now that the signs went in, it does create a problem where people cannot park. So we have on our agenda to change the situation by removal of those signs. Commissioners, anybody have anything to say about this issue? And if you have something to say, just state your name and you will be able to speak. Any commissioners have anything to say? Hearing none. Commissioner Janetti? Commissioner? Can you speak? Oh, we're not getting your voice.
Commissioner, David seems to be self-muted.
You're self-muted, David. We lost David. His picture is gone. We're not hearing you, Dave.
All right, I am unmuted on my both my cell phone and the computer, so I'm not sure why you're not hearing me.
Now we can hear you. You have
Okay.
anything to say about
Yeah,
this?
I just know from past experience it's a very narrow street. I am sympathetic, however, to the homeowners there on the fact that they have very few spots to park on that street. So I would be open to a study of the area to potentially entertain a one-way. I did pull up the area on Google Maps though, and the only problem I would see with a one-way is it would create more traffic on adjacent streets like Sunset. So, but I am open to a study of perhaps a one-way on that street.
Would you be entertaining a motion to remove the no parking signs? Just on the new ones, not on the opposite side of the street. I would entertain a motion.
Yes, so moved.
Okay, a motion has been made. Do I have a second from any of the other commissioners to remove the no parking signs? Just on the newly installed ones.
Second.
The motion has been made by, please state your name.
Jamie Hobart Lamba.
Very good, thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor of removing the newly installed no parking signs, say aye.
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 All those opposed, abstained, hearing none, that's, our motion is passed. And I believe Commissioner Janetti would like us to take a look at a study or looking into creating a one-way street, whether or not that would create greater problems or whether or not it would facilitate and eliminate problems. Let us move on our agenda. The next one under new old business, we have none. Chairman's report. I just want to report on a couple of matters that you should be aware of. And one of the matters was dealing with a problem at Starbucks. When we had the backup on the entrance to Starbucks back on April 20th, it was brought to my attention that there was a significant backup onto the main street there and a potential for an accident. I did contact the chief and deputy chief and the town manager, and within a matter of minutes, I believe the deputy chief get in touch with the management at Starbucks and did come up with a solution. Deputy Chief, Chief Berger, could you please explain what happened with the Starbucks owner?
Yes, am I on?
Yep.
Okay, terrific. Yeah, Starbucks, the Watertown Starbucks was actually one of the very few Starbucks in the greater Waterbury region that remained open. Starbucks corporate allowed by policy, any of their employees that wanted to take a month off of work due to the pandemic were allowed to do so, and that shuttered many of their stores. They did manage to keep the Watertown facility open. And as you know, the only part of that facility that was open was the drive-through. So not only did we have increased drive-through traffic due to the interior portions of the store being closed, but we also had a lot of avid Starbucks customers coming in from out of town who normally would have been going to other area Starbucks. So it completely overwhelmed the drive-through line and was backing that line well out onto Main Street. The only quick solution was for Starbucks to hire private duty officers to keep traffic moving on Main Street and not allow vehicles to queue out on Main Street. Although it wasn't popular with the customers who had to circle around and wait for an opportunity to drive into the driveway, it did keep the intersection of Main and French clear. And that occurred for about a month.
And there was an article in the newspaper expressing you must really want or need that ice caramel frappuccino. And it did get a lot of attention. An officer was used, but the was Starbucks, I believe, picked up the cost. Am I correct in that?
They did 100%.
So therefore, there was no added cost to the city. So with the efforts of the town manager and our department, the deputy chief, things were resolved. The other matter that I'm going to bring up is the always stop control, which the commissioner who has been very concerned with that, Commissioner Rossi, is not here tonight, but let me assure him that we have not let that slip by. There is some construction work going on at Debbie Lou's, and they're in the process of doing some work. We have been in touch with the Public Works Department. Right now, it is a work in progress. As to when the work will be finished, it is in the hands of Public Works. I did contact the town manager, John Gavalis, and mentioned to him that there is concern in that intersection and that we, as a commission, did approve. And we did have a traffic study done, and it was passed by the commission that a stop sign be placed there and other devices be put in place for the safety of that particular intersection. So when that work is done, I realize that many departments have been hit with the virus and whatnot. So as soon as possible, this study will be done. I can't give you an exact date at this time, but it is not something that has been set aside. We are keeping an eye on, hoping to get it done soon. Any questions from, at any time when I'm doing a review of it, feel free to raise your hand and you will be heard. Okay. The other thing is the details on the email. I did go over those, and I believe Ms. Ryan was very happy that we are working on those things. And, she seems to be happy with the results. Let us move ahead. There will be no meeting, as I said, in July. We did decide that when we were setting up our calendar for the year. And now that gets us to Police Chief Monthly Department Reports and Activities in April and May. A very light year, it looks like. Very light couple of months there. How does it look to you?
Yes, since I've returned from climbing Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa, I've dealt with a pandemic and civil unrest. So it's been a lively couple of months indeed. I am pleased, though, to report that our staffing level, we are at budgeted for 40 sworn, and we currently have 39 sworn employed. That's including the interim town manager and myself. We do have one vacancy that I'm hoping to fill, hopefully by late summer or early fall, with a lateral candidate, of which I have about 3 or 4 to select from. In regards to the new building project, I believe it was the March town council meeting, the architect did present to the town council their study in regards to the site survey and what piece of property would be ideal for a new police facility. That remains with the town council right now, and until a decision is brought forward by the town council as to where a police facility should be located, the architect cannot move forward with the rest of the pre-referendum services, which would include a schematic design and a professional cost estimate. So obviously this project did kind of get set aside during the pandemic, which is understandable, but I'm certainly hoping that it does get picked up again soon. In regards to our COVID response, this was certainly an evolving situation beginning in mid-March and carrying through the present day. Our policies evolved as the pandemic did. We're currently still operating at full capacity, responding to all calls for service, including medicals. We are aware through the Torrington Area Health District of any addresses in town that have tested, have a positive test. It's a confidential list, but it does allow our first responders to take extra precautions if we do get dispatched to one of those residences or addresses. Our officers are required to wear a full PPE, including N95 masks and face shields and gloves when going into any known cases, and to wear a slightly lower level of protection on all other calls for service. They are required to wear masks when any public interaction within 6 feet. As far as our protest response, this was a very significant event in the town of Watertown. All sworn members were ordered to work on Monday to cover this event. I'm very proud of the men and women of the Watertown Police Department. They acted very professionally and were open to conversation with all the attendees of the protests. And I really do believe, thanks to the teamwork of the men and women in our department, that we helped Watertown shine during this event. As far as our budget goes, for the 2019-20 budget, which is closing, we only had 2 line items go into the red, one of them being our uniform budget, because we ended up hiring more officers than what we were planning to have to hire in the 2019-20 fiscal year due to Officer Beretta resigning. We had to hire in his place, which we had to purchase all new equipment and uniforms for an extra officer. So that uniform did that line item did go into the red. Also, what went into the red was our dispatchers overtime line item. We have been short for most of the fiscal year, up to 2 part-time dispatchers, which has created a lot of overtime vacancies. Thankfully, though, through salary and police overtime, we were able to balance those 2 line items out, and we're overall going to end up in the black for the police department's budget. And as you know, the budget has been set for the 2021 year. We'll be good to go for July 1st. And as far as the numbers, you, I imagine, all have my report, and certainly be willing to entertain any questions that you may have.
The 2 matters that, remember, I had a series of 4 questions. One of the questions that I think should be made known was as far as the chokehold and the department, and also as far as the state, and as far as what the department should and what they do. I think you answered that very clearly. And the other question was the frequency which the officers are on policies are reviewed with your officers. Could you just comment on that, Chief?
Yeah, in regards to the chokehold, and I'll read it into record. The Watertown Police Department does have a use of force policy that meets state Tier 3 accreditation standards. It's a relatively new policy that was just put out a couple months ago to bring us up to best practices, which has certainly been evolving dramatically over the past few years. It reads, non-deadly force restrictions. The following non-deadly force tactics may be permitted only in circumstances where deadly force is authorized by this policy. A, any chokeholds or neck restraints with or without a device that restricts a person's airway or ability to breathe or circulate blood to their brain. End quote. What this means is that an officer can only use such an action when it is a deadly force situation which would be equal to that of firing their firearm. And, you know, this would be kind of a close combat scenario where either their gun has been taken away or, you know, their life or someone else's life is in danger. And as a last resort, they had to grab that person around the neck. And that is the only circumstance that our policy allows for that action to take place. In regards to our use of force policy, that is required through accreditation to be reviewed by all officers on an annual basis. And we do train on that policy annually.
I think this type of transparency is vitally needed, and our department is always open to keeping the public informed. And as far as the newly designed working on station, we did visit a station in Bethel, and I believe you were with us, Josh. And that's the future of policing. And I think that is something strongly needed for our town. It does provide for a beautiful place where the public can gather, where types of programs in relating to the public, what should go on and how policing takes place, a relationship, a personal relationship between the members of the community already exists, but I believe this new design and the way that they are approaching it, both for the officers, their new changing their lockers and showering and whatnot, is also a part of what is needed in policing. Every day, our officers go out with the potential of being shot or killed. They are always in a situation of possible death, and they are fully aware of it, but they are willing to serve. And that, I think, is so important, that our officers are willing to serve and protect our community. And I have total and complete confidence in them, as I do believe all the members of our commission do also. So I'd like to make that statement. And any other addition any member of the commission would like to say, please, at this time, have the opportunity to express it. Any commissioner?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
can you hear me okay?
we hear you.
I just wanted to say I fully endorse the acting chief's June 5th letter to the Watertown Oakville community, where he condemned the actions of the Minneapolis officer, and which led to the death of George Floyd. And he went further to say that he also condemned the inaction or lack of intervention of the officers at the scene. And I just wanted to say that I also appreciate the fact that he is willing to speak to members of the community and be open and transparent. That is what is needed today in law enforcement. And my last point is I have spoken to many law enforcement professionals in the last couple of weeks, and they all condemn the actions of this officer in Minneapolis, and they all want better race relations with people of color. So, Acting Chief Berniger, I appreciate your leadership on this issue.
Thank you,
Thank
Commissioner.
you.
Is there anyone else, any other commissioner want to comment? Any other commissioner, any comment? And again, hearing none, I also commend the general public for their reaction. I did see in the paper today that they did have flowers and little gifts for members of the department. It shows appreciation of the community. And I'd like at this time make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstention? Motion is carried. Good night, gentlemen, ladies, and stay safe. And keep up your good work.
Thank you.